Hello and welcome back to the GB Fantasy Football channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking over the weekend results on Sun Dream Team, seeing who scored the points, who's disappointed us in game week 1, and who is still yet to play. Of course, Everton and Leeds will be playing on Monday night, so their scores won't be in this video today, but the other 9 fixtures will be covered. Now, before I get on with the video, I'd like to thank you all very much for the support on the channel. We're passing 950 subscribers now. The 1000 mark is not too far away. If you could hit subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Hit a like on today's video if you want to see more of this kind of content, and hit the bell icon so you won't be missing a video in the future. It'll be dropping in your sub boxes, plenty more content to come throughout. Pre-season's done and dusted. We're into the good stuff now. We're getting our teeth sunk into it, and it is all systems go. Without further ado, let's crack on with the video. With over 260 people in my league currently, the code is down below underneath the camera. Go check it out, it's in the description below. I'll be covering each week who scored the most points, who's top in the league, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. There's quite a few of you with a really high score in game week 1. Unfortunately, my game week 1 hasn't gone too well, but the team's well set up for future game weeks, and that's what we have to bear in mind. Now, the first game of the week was Friday night. It was Liverpool against Bournemouth, 4-2, a higher scoring game than many of us would have predicted. Mo Salah getting on the score sheet in the 94th minute. Thankfully for us captainers, we'll get to a certain Norwegian in a little while, but he definitely bailed us out on that front. A lot of you would have gone for Gakpo, who scored 11 points in this game. Very high scoring, looks to have that left wing position nailed down. Ekatike with 13 points, a goal and an assist. He took his goal well, despite it being a little bit fortuitous in how he got through on goal. But if Isak doesn't sign, and Ekatike is the number 9 in this new 25-26 season, I think he's going to be in a lot of people's teams. You've got players like McAllister picking up an assist in this game. Very fortunate in my opinion. And then players such as Frimpong and Kirkes, who both picked up the clean sheet despite being brought off in the 60th minute, well, before the 60th minute. Sun Dream Team last season and going into this season have reworded how the clean sheet points work. Anything past 59 minutes classifies as a clean sheet. So those of you who did have the fullbacks got slightly lucky on that front, especially with Bournemouth scoring less than 5 minutes later. Other people to note, of course, Semenyo of Bournemouth, 16 points in this game. He took his goals very well. Is in line for a 0.3 rise like a few of the other players are. Price rises in Sun Dream Team are very difficult to kind of grasp. I know a few of you have asked in the comments to kind of describe how it works. Basically, if you are lower in value, it takes less points to bump up the 0.2s and 0.3s that we're all looking for. So a player such as a Sunderland defender that I'm sure we'll get onto in a bit, 2 million to 2.5 million in price, because they've kept a clean sheet, they're more likely to get a 0.3. Whereas someone who is 6 million in price or 7.5 million in price, such as Erling Haaland, who we will also get onto in a little while, scoring 2 goals, he will only have a 0.1 rise compared to some other players who might score those high scores. Very hard to get across. Hopefully it's helped out a little bit, but I know a few of you in the comments were confused as to how it was working. It's taken me a long time to get my head around as well. Other players to note in this one, Evan Nielsen wasn't quite on his top form. Tavernier, 5 points. He was only £2.5 million in Abler, so he is one to look out for, but many point scorers in this game. The Saturday dinner time game came and went in a flash. It was Aston Villa 0, Newcastle 0. Not exactly a goal scoring masterclass by any stretch of the imagination, but for those of you who did go for either one of the defenders for both of these teams, you scored very well. Bizzo in goal, of course, playing because Martinez was banned from the last game of last season. 9 points, 7 bonus points. Fantastic return. Wouldn't be going there, unfortunately, with Martinez more than likely coming back into the frame. Ezra Konsa picking up a red card, of course. Only 4 points for him, and he is banned for the next 2 games, so stay clear of him. Other players to note are Nana picking up 6 points overall, 9 bonus points. Ollie Watkins blanking. Tielemans not doing well for the bonus points, -3, only picking up 3 overall. Moving into the Newcastle team, of course, the back four and the goalkeeper all picking up clean sheets. Livramento, 8 points, 4 bonus points, might be one to look out for in the Champions League going forward. Bruno Guimaraes failing to deceive, or flattering to deceive, I should say. Only 3 points when many of us would have expected high bonus points from him, but just the 3. Tonali with a 4, Alanga 4, Harvey Barnes 4, and Anthony Gordon 4. From this game alone, it looked like Newcastle were very much missing a centre forward in this game. Of course, Isak is still just on strike, basically. I think Johan Visser, they're going to step up their chances to get him in the coming days, so he will be one price-wise that we keep a keen eye on. But a few notable absentees points-wise in this game, especially with the European campaigns coming around for both these teams. Maybe a price drop here and there for a couple of our favourite assets going forward, so definitely a game that might help us in the future. We will rattle through the next few games. Brighton 1, Fulham 1. A few notable scorers in this one. Matt O'Reilly, I believe it was, scoring the penalty. Many of us would have thought that Reter was on him, so that's one to note, especially with O'Reilly being heavily linked with Juventus. So if he does leave the club, do they go to Reter? I think the Kuiper was also one that could potentially have taken that penalty. I know a few of you did have him in defence. That 97th minute clean sheet wipeout by Muniz would have been a bitter pill to swallow. I know Dunk was 2.5 million enabler at the back. Not really too good on the points wise for Brighton. Bruter was 6, picking up the assist from getting fouled for the penalty. Moving over to Fulham, really no scorers across the board. Harry Wilson, the pre-season Messi, picking up 5 points. He was the highlight of their starting 11. Muniz coming off the bench, getting the goal. Wouldn't go near him. Fighting for minutes with Jimenez. Defensive-wise, Anthony Robinson, I believe, is still out with an injury. So the tackle monster from last season not quite fit and ready for this campaign. Joachim Anderson and Tete both 4 points, but realistically it was a very drab game across the board. I won't be looking at these teams too much despite the Carabao Cup second round. I think there'll be a lot of rotation. There certainly was for Fulham last season, and I think that will also be the case this time around. Sunderland against West Ham being one of these standout fixtures over the weekend. Sunderland becoming the first team this season to win a game from the promoted teams. It took until October last year for the same feat to be achieved, so congratulations to them. And I do think that their players have been perhaps priced a little under the value that they should have been. They've invested heavily in the summer, and it seems they've brought the right players into the group to potentially keep them up. I feel like there's a few Premier League teams from last season who are a little bit weaker, Brentford being one of them, we'll get to in a little while. And Sunderland could perhaps leapfrog them and be the first team to stay in the league who've been promoted, I think, in about 3 seasons. So they started well. They beat West Ham 3-0. Ballard, Isidore, and Mayenda picking up the goals. Ballard with an 18-pointer, only 2 million, and well, in defence. I've seen a few people in my league. If you want to go check it out, please do. I think the person who's currently top did have a triple Sunderland defence, so fair play to them. Incredible effort to pick that one out of the bag straight away. You got a goal, you got the clean sheet, you got the 10 bonus points, not quite max, but I'm sure an 18-pointer from a £2 million asset would have gone down really well. You got Royce in goal. I had him. I know a few of you did have him as well. He was one that I touted in pre-season. It was actually Patterson at first, then they signed Royce, and he was priced at the same value. Thankfully, he's come up trump straight away with that 10-pointer, and he's in line for a 0.3 rise straight away, which is a nice little bonus. Ronaldo and Hume also picking up the clean sheet. As I said, Mayenda getting the goal, and Adingra picking up an assist where many of you would have had him for that £3 million price range. Very good scorers across the board, and I feel like there'll be a lot of 0.3 rises when it comes to Sunderland in this week. West Ham on the other side of things, pretty poor. I had Diouf at the back, only a 1-pointer. Unfortunately, didn't manage to even sneak up to that 2 or 3 range where it might not have been as damaging, but I feel like he will get a 0.3 decrease this week. Despite him having a double, I think he's one that I'm targeting to remove from my team if the Everton players don't score well on Monday night, that it is. Hermanson, only a 1 pointer, the new goalkeeper signing, looked pretty poor to be fair. Didn't look too much of an upgrade on Areola. Tadibo with 3 points, Wan-Bissaka with 3 points, and of course Jared Bowen with his 5 pointer, picking up a bonus point, a couple of tackles, a shot on target. Even in a game where West Ham were pretty abysmal, to be honest, Bowen still has the ability to pull out 5 points. Thankfully, I think that will basically keep him around the same price, maybe a 0.1 decrease going into game week 2. But with his double in line, I'm really glad that I don't have to ship him out ahead of that one. Fulkrug picking up only 3 points, a -5 on the bonus point system. Pretty poor. You had Callum Wilson come on. Perhaps a two up front for West Ham was the order of the day, but I think they just look really poor. And with Chelsea at home this week and the Wolves game, I believe it's away to Wolves in the cup. I think a few West Ham assets might be shifted on leading into game week 2. A new era under Thomas Frank got underway at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Tottenham 3, Burnley 0, with Richarlison at the double, picking up 2 goals, and Brennan Johnson managing to bag a goal for himself. The clean sheet across the back four and goalkeeper, of course, for Tottenham. Vicario with 9 points, Van der Ven with 8 points. I was quite against him in pre-season for that £3.5 million price range, and I still stick to my guns. This Burnley fixture was by far Tottenham's easiest game, and going into next week with Manchester City away, I'm not too sure if he is the right play. Of course, 8 points in the bank with the opening fixture. Take them, run away, and see what next week could possibly bring. Porro with 8 points, Spence with 8 points, and Romero with 7, all the standout performers. Archie Gray, just a 2 points, Bergvall with 4, Pap Saw, I believe he was 3 million. A lot of people looked out for him in midfield as a potential mid-range budget enabler. 8 points, 6 points on the bonus points. Really decent return from him. Richarlison, as I mentioned, 2 goals, 17 points. Despite his haul, I'd still stay well clear of him. Solanke came off the bench in the 71st minute, and even with him on 2 goals, you'd have thought the manager wanted to keep him on to potentially get a hat-trick. Wasn't the case. It was more bothered about getting minutes into Solanke's legs. And I think going forward, Solanke will be the starting centre forward, so stay clear of him. Brennan Johnson, 9 points, picking up the goal. And Mohamed Kudus, I was very heavy on him in pre-season. Eventually slipped back into my team before the deadline. 11 points, 9 on the bonus points, which was really, really good. And that's what you want. He's picked up 3 bonus points overall. Just a fantastic asset. It looked like he was the driving force behind that attack. Didn't quite get the goal, but with 2 assists, I will take that 11 points and potentially a 0.2/0.3 rise. Burnley, not much to mention across the board really. 4 points for Laurent, 3 points for Anthony, 4 points for Cullen. Realistically, stay well clear. They do have Sunderland this week, so a few of you might have been tempted with that, especially with Burnley's defensive record in the Championship. But if this performance was anything to go by, that step up and the overperforming of data last season was very apparent. They looked out of their depth and Tottenham ran them ragged. Burnley had a few chances going forward. They probably should have scored in this game. Tottenham did give them opportunities to get behind the back four. Didn't have the quality. And I think that is the overwhelming thing when you look at this Burnley team. Just a distinct lack of quality all around. I'd stay clear at the minute. Game of the weekend with regards to point scorers and ownership wise was Manchester City picking up a 4-0 win away to Wolves. I thought they'd win this game. I did not expect 4-0. Wolves without Aït-Nouri and Cunha, they really look like they're lacking quality across the pitch. A couple of -1s in the Wolves defence for Sarr and Doherty. Naught for Gomez and Agbadou. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments down below. Andre in midfield picking up 5 points. Strand Larson, who looked like he picked up several knocks in the game, only 4 points. Not a lot to speak about with regards to Wolves. Man City, on the other hand, lots to talk about. James Trafford, if I'd have known he was going to play this game, despite the heavy links to Donnarumma, I'd have picked him. 9 points. He looked really solid in that Man City back line, just ushering the defence, keeping everything calm back there. We know from his Burnley days what kind of a goalkeeper he is. And I actually think it will be quite harsh if they do sign Donnarumma and push him down to the bench. Aït-Nouri, 11-pointer against his old team. Looked solid, looked like the Aït-Nouri that many of us would have wanted last season in our teams. I know a few of you did go there. Not quite as attacking in this one, a little bit subdued, but with that to add on top of this performance, I think the ceiling for Aït-Nouri is quite high. Of course, Gvardiol wasn't available for this fixture, so that's one to look out for with regards to Aït-Nouri and minutes on the pitch. Rico Lewis, a surprise player in this game. Didn't think he'd start. A lot of talk about Núñez in pre-season being the first choice right back for Man City, coming from the words of Pep, so we should have known straight away that was a big lie. 12-pointer. I think he got the assist in this game. 7 points on the bonus point scale. Decent option, but with heavy links to Nottingham Forest, I think I stay well clear. I know he was a popular asset at the start of last season, but despite that, not worth the hassle. 8 points for Stones, another one who I actually didn't think would play. I thought Kanji would start, and 8 points for Diaz. Kept the clean sheet. Wolves didn't really look like troubling too much in this game, but Man City, the clean sheets are continuing from the back end of last season. Tijani Reinders, now if you played the other fantasy games like FPL, you know how much of a in-demand play he currently is for that price bracket. On this game, he was priced a little bit more expensive. It was actually only $1 million cheaper than Fantasy Premier League. On this one, he was 4.5 million, 11 points, picked up the goal, picked up the assist, just a point shy on the bonus point scale for that one extra point. Definitely one to look out for if he's going to continue playing as high and in the box as he was in this game. Gonzalez, 6 points, playing that Rodri role, picking up the bits and pieces. Bernardo Silva, one of the unks of the Man City team, 7 points, nothing too much to shout about on that front. 16 points for Erling Haaland. So those of you who went there and captained him, well played. You've won game week 1 on that front for captaincy. I think Salah got 11, so 5 points extra for him. 2 goals for Haaland. Only the 2 shots in the game, so despite him scoring 2 goals, it's that level of efficiency that we all have come to expect from him. Doku, the 2-pointer, not too great on the PPM, which is a bit of a surprise if you watched him in previous season. And Oscar Bob with the 6-pointer. Another notable one is Cherki coming off the bench, 8-pointer, picked up the goal, shot from outside the box, looked a little bit not quite there, but I'm sure with the Pep roulette, he will be straight into this team. He'll be looking active in no time. He got the goal. Clearly, he's not quite trusted enough in this system, or at least Pep didn't trust him in this game enough to play him. I think he's definitely one to keep a keen eye on. But if you went for these Manchester City assets, you are very much in the points this week. Of course, the most obvious 3-1 of the weekend was going to be Nottingham Forest against Brentford. A Forest team that had only scored once in 7 pre-season fixtures with 5 clean sheets. Didn't get the clean sheet in this one and scored 3 goals. So much for pre-season form on this one. A wipeout of the defence for Forest was quite damaging for a few of you. I know that. I was quite close on Nico Williams going into my first draft. He picked up 4 points with 6 on the PPM system. 1 bonus point overall. Ole Aina, 4 points. Murillo, 3. And Sells, 3. Not too great, especially with how poor Brentford are. But you'd hope for more clean sheets in the future, especially with the Europa League campaign for Forest. Elliot Anderson, an 8-pointer, picking up an assist, looking like the combative midfielder that we all know he can be. Gibbs White, a fantastic assist in this game. 3 bonus points, 8 on the PPM system. Just a solid asset, and it looks like his time at Forest will continue at least for this season. The new signing in Doy, great finish. I believe he scored a header in this one. 9 points. Hudson-Odoi, 7. Sangari with 2. And Chris Wood at the double in this one. 2 goals for him, coming off in the 79th minute for Jesus. Chris Wood does do what Chris Wood does, scoring goals, and that's it. Not really being involved in the link-up, but that's not what you want as a Forest fan. Is it going to be a continuous thing with Chris Wood where he's picking up goals? I did actually toy with him in my draft just a smidge. I mentioned it in a previous video where I didn't want him and Haaland in the same team because they're very identical players. Ironically, both scored 2 goals on the opening weekend with 4 shots on target between them. So, goes to show the level of efficiency between the two of them. For Brentford, pretty poor across the board. Defence-wise, I had Coyote, another one similar to my other defensive asset in Juve, only 1 point. Didn't quite sneak to that 2 pointer, which might have saved a 0.1 and been able to personally switch him for somebody else. And I actually think he might be another one that leaves my squad this week, despite wanting to save those transfers. Collins, -1. Kelleher, just the 1 pointer. Vandenberg, 2. Thiago scored the penalty up front, but beyond that, nothing to shout home about at all. Lewis Potter playing out of position, playing as a winger, mainly rather than a actual central midfielder or a fullback like he has done in previous seasons. Carvalho, I know a few of you would have gone there for the budget option at 2.5 million. Only 3 points, nothing too great. Forest look like they're going to continue some form from last season, and Brentford look in a lot of trouble. Defensive wise, even though they have a double game week coming up this week, it might be time to shift on their assets. Fixture that I thought would be the standout one on Sunday turned out to be a 0-0 draw across the board. Defensive blocks are plenty for Crystal Palace, and Chelsea keeping a fortuitous clean sheet in my opinion. Sanchez with a 9-pointer, I feel like that was very fortunate. Eze scored a fantastic free kick. Yes, Gay did move somebody out the wall, and he was within 1 metre of the Chelsea defensive wall. But if you watch the game, I think it's an absolute joke of a decision, and Eze should have had the goal in this game. Cucurella with the 11 points was in plenty of my early drafts. 4.5 million. He was that upper, mid, lower premium price for a defender. I think he's going to be a fantastic asset this season. Yes, they do have Hato on the bench, their new signing, and it does seem like he is more of a left back than a centre half from their selection choices in this game. But Cucurella will offer a lot in this season going forward. Hopefully his price doesn't rise too much before the European fixtures come about, but he's definitely one I've got an eye on. Tralabar and Achimampong, correct me if I'm wrong down below on that one, 8 points and 9 points respectively. I feel like they had a centre half who was just a doubt in this game. I think it's Adebayo. He will come back into the team in my opinion. Reece James, 9-pointer, picking up 3 bonus points overall. Substituted for Malo Gusto in the 79th minute. I know many of you did have Gusto in your squad. Hopefully you did remove him before the deadline because he was on the bench for this one. Cole Palmer, 2-pointer, in line for a 0.3 decrease in price in game week 1. Quite frankly, I'm worried. He looked pretty awful. I've got him on both fantasy games, so I was watching with intent. He didn't create anything. He didn't look like creating anything. Didn't look like scoring. He was barely involved. When he wasn't scoring or assisting last season, he was picking up bonus points. He was picking up 1, 3, 5 a game. It was ticking over. He was getting shots on target. He was creating some chances. Very rarely did he actually blank. This one, full blank. I will keep him, but if he continues in the same vein, he'll have to be removed. Pedro Neto with 5 points, good on the bonus points this week. Enzo Fernandez, another one from last season. I ended with Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer in my last game week for the Sun Dream team in last season, and they got me from 4th to 3rd in the world. With this performance, they definitely wouldn't have. 2 points for Enzo. Gittins, 54th minute hold off. I'd stay well clear. Caicedo, 7 points, bonus point magnet once again. 10 on the PPM system, 3 bonus points overall, and João Pedro blanking. Now, I know a few of you would have gone for him in Fantasy Premier League, like myself, and also on this game, but I always thought for 4.5 million it was a price point a bit too far. Palace assets, once again picking up a clean sheet. 8 for Henderson, Richards, and Lacroix. Gay with a 7-pointer. Solid points all around, and Munoz with the 7 as well. I think he got booked in this game, but once again showing what a fantastic asset he is, continuing his form from the last campaign, despite him being at 5.5 million now. Wharton, 3 points. Hughes with the 1-pointer. Eze, 5 points in this game. If you watched it, it should have been a goal. He should have been waving to the fans goodbye pretty much, because that seemed what it was very much like when he got brought off, especially with his impending transfer to Tottenham. So 5 points for Eze, 2 for Saar, a little bit of a surprise, and 3 for Mateta with a shot on target. Defences came out on top in this fixture, in a fixture where I fully expected there to be a couple of goals at least. But both these teams with European campaigns on the horizon are a couple to keep our close eyes on. And the last game that we are going to cover in today's video is Manchester United against Arsenal. 1-0 victory for Arsenal in this game. Quality, very slim across the pitch, really. Man United buying dear in goal, surprisingly. I think the news that came out before the fixture was Onana was fit to play this game, but not selected. Yoro with a 4-pointer, De Ligt with a 5-pointer coming off. Oh, De Ligt didn't come off in this game. Must have got that one wrong. I thought Maguire came on in this game. Little do I know. De Ligt with a 5-pointer. Casemiro only 3 points. He was in that midfield with Bruno Fernandes, who picked up 4 points only. Now in the battle of the premiums this week, where he picked up 4, somebody on the other team for Arsenal picked up 2 and Palmer picked up 3. Bruno Fernandes actually came out on top, surprisingly, with a very feeble effort. Dorgu with a 4-pointer looked a lively asset at wing back, with Dalot coming off in the 55th minute and Diallo coming on towards the right wing back role. I think Dorgu will have competition, but with no European competition for Manchester United, it's strictly league performances and fixtures for him this year, and I actually think he will do pretty well for points. Mbeumo with a 5-pointer, if he continues to play in this manner, similar to the player on the other side of the pitch in Matheus Cunha, there will be lots of points to be shared between them two this season. No doubles, unless it's domestic cups for them, of course. But for their price ranges, I think there will be a lot of value there. Diallo coming off the bench looked very lively at wing back. If he can nail down that position for the fixtures, I actually think despite him playing in a more defensive role, it doesn't actually look like a defensive role. He's very high up on that right hand side and caused Arsenal's left side a lot of trouble. Arsenal's clean sheet record is incredible. I thought even with this game and Liverpool away in game week 3, it wasn't worth going there. I'm glad to be proved wrong as an Arsenal fan, but once again they've scored points. David Raya with a 9-pointer, Gabriel with a 7 and Saliba with a 9. They are the stalwarts at the back for Arsenal. They are the linchpins that hold the team together. Calafiori picking up a 13-pointer in this game. It was Calafiori and White as the favoured fullbacks in this one, compared to Skelly and Timber. I actually thought Calafiori would play in this game. I didn't think Ben White would. I thought it'd be more during Timber. Calafiori with a goal and the clean sheet looked really good at only 3.5 million as well. It offers a lot of potential leading to that Leeds home fixture next week, but it's a gamble. Is he going to play that fixture? Will Arsenal rely on a person whose fitness-wise last season was exceptionally poor? He could barely string 3 games together. And for a game at home to Leeds when they've got Liverpool away in the following week, I wish I knew he was playing, because for 3.5 million with a 0.3 rise imminent, I'd be going there in a heartbeat. Ben White with an 8-pointer. Zubamendi only 3 points, so nothing really to note there. Odegaard looked poor on the ball, 4 points. Declan Rice, a much higher price for him this season, 5 points overall, looked quite leggy. Didn't look fit at all. Martinelli, abysmal. Absolutely appalling. If Arsenal don't sign a left winger in this transfer window, I will be disappointed. They've been just, the lack of quality over there when him and Trossard play is astounding. Saka only a 3-pointer, once again looked like he was treading water at times, and Gyökeres up front barely made the 60-minute mark. When Havertz came on, he actually looked a little bit fitter. He looked more athletic, he looked more energetic. Gyökeres needs time, he needs time to bed in, and I always thought that would be the case. Hopefully, the next step for Gyökeres against Leeds is perhaps having just a shot. I'm not asking too much as an Arsenal fan, just a shot. Timber coming off the bench for a 1-pointer, Havertz coming off the bench for a 1-pointer. The Arsenal squad looks a lot bigger this season, but still defensively incredible, and that is one to note with the European fixtures coming up in a couple of game weeks. Does indeed conclude today's video. Hopefully if you enjoyed this kind of content, as I said, I did have it in the back end of last season. Hopefully it's a little bit better to see graphics wise and seeing who scored the points and all that good stuff. It's intriguing to see the trends and some of the players that have picked up points that we didn't expect, and some of the premium assets, specifically in midfield, who've fallen a little bit short this week. Hopefully, going into game week 2, they pick up their form. Bruno, Palmer, Saka, I'm looking at you there. I'm going to need some more points from the three of you. Mainly Saka to do with my own team. I don't actually have him in my Sun Dream team, but I'd quite like him to do something. But they are the 9 games so far this week covered. Of course, Everton against Leeds is on the Monday night fixture. I've got Dewsbury Hall and O'Brien in that one, so hoping for a clean sheet and a potential start in the number 10 role for Dewsbury Hall. But we'll see on that front. Leave a comment down below on how your week has gone so far. Who's been your best player? Who's been your biggest disappointment? And don't forget to join the league code. It's down there as well, so do go check it out as well. The socials also down there as well. Instagram, TikTok, and X, all the good stuff. Constantly posting. I've been putting out the team lineups for the Premier League teams ahead of the fixtures, so you know if your players are playing or not. So just a little bit of update kind of info. But that is it for today's video, I'm afraid. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in a new video very soon.